talk some Nebraska, Purdue. Nebraska is 3-1, 0-1 in the Big Ten after that big Illinois game, and they visit Purdue, who is 1-2 on Saturday, with both teams looking to bounce back from losses last week. The teams are tied 6-6 in their series history, making the game a tiebreaker for both bragging rights and a critical Big Ten win. Nebraska will rely on star freshman quarterback Dylan Raiola, who has thrown for 967 yards and 8 touchdowns this season, while Purdue counters with their experienced senior QB Hudson Card. Purdue's ground game, led by Devin Mockaby, 168 yards versus Oregon State, poses a challenge to Nebraska's defense. Nick, what's just some of your general thoughts going into this game? Both these teams coming in. What do you think?
Well, as someone who covers Indiana, I don't see Purdue doing that well. But I liked seeing what some of the things Nebraska had to offer while playing against Illinois. Illinois really surprised me in that game, and Nebraska is one of the teams I worry about Indiana losing to as the season goes on. But I think Dylan Raiola, he looks really good. I mean, he's the freshman. He's rolling right now. And I just think they need to work on their run game a little bit more. I feel like they're not focusing on that enough. And then for Purdue, I as a former Texas player, Hudson Card, I don't think he's cut out for it. He doesn't seem to. He's struggling a lot. But their run game has looked really good. Mockaby has been doing, like last week, he did really well. So I think if Purdue can start with the run game early on and be able to succeed, then Purdue might have a chance in winning.
Yeah, I think you make good assessments there. I think it's interesting. Nebraska hasn't leaned on their run game as much recently. I mean, I wouldn't say the run game has been bad, but they've definitely been relying on Dylan Raiola more, which he's a true freshman quarterback that just seems like, and they have 4 very viable running backs for them to choose from. I mean, they have Dowdell, Grant, a number of other guys who are just, I mean, they are Big Ten starting caliber running backs in my mind, and you have all those guys in the backfield. You would think you'd be rotating those guys more, but against Illinois, they really only went with Dowdell. They didn't really go with anybody else, which I thought was interesting for me. And then I think you're right. Purdue is struggling right now, and it's tough because they started that game against Indiana State. Hudson Card set a record for completion percentage with over 20 passes. They looked really, really promising. And then you play Notre Dame 2 weeks later and you get blown out. You can't stop the run. And then you play Oregon State this last week. That makes 2 years in a row that you've lost to a G5 school. I know Oregon State was just Power 4 last year or Power 5 last year, however you want to put it. So that is a little bit different. But still, that's 2 years in a row losing an out of conference game to a non P4 school. That's not great for Ryan Walters. That's not great for the program, and so you have to start questioning some things about what is going on here. So I guess I'll just start with that for my key to the game. I'll start with Purdue, and then Nick will get your thought on Purdue. My key to the game for Purdue in this one is Hudson Card has got to put together a competent game passing the ball. The last 2 weeks, he's been under 125 yards passing in both games. Game 1, he was 96% completion percentage against Indiana State. FCS team, not a good team, but 96% completion percentage. The last 2 games combined, 44%. That is not going to get it done, and I know some of that is also the offensive line, the receivers. It's not all on Hudson Card, and so when I'm saying he needs to have a competent passing game, I'm also talking about the entire team overall. But, I mean, these last 2 games, he's been sacked 4 times. He's thrown 3 interceptions, and he only has 2 touchdown passes. It's just not been enough, and you're not going to be able to win if you don't have a competent passing game. If your passing game is turning the ball over more than they score themselves. Nick, what's your key to the game for Purdue in this one?
Yeah, I think you really hit the nail on the head right there. I think Hudson Card really needs to develop the passing game more. He needs to succeed more. He hasn't been showing it at all, but he has the ability if the whole team works together, because he does need the offensive line to help out. And then I also think the key to the game is just feed Mockaby. Like, if you can just run the ball successfully, then they're going to be looking for a run, and then you could sneak in a pass, and they might not be expecting it, and then maybe Hudson Card will have a little more success.
Yep, be able to use the passing game after you dominate with the run game a little bit. I like it. All right, I'll let you go first with Nebraska. That way I don't steal yours. What's a key to the game for Nebraska in your mind?
I think Dylan Raiola has to just start off going strong. I think he's a talented passer. If he can make plays, Purdue's not going to be able to stop them. And then also if they, because Ramir Johnson has not shown much as of late. I think if they could get, I think Dowdle is very like stepping up in that role as their running back. So I think if they can feed Dowdle some, he could give them some good gains, some good first downs. But I think it's going to be up to Raiola to help carry the Cornhuskers to the win.
Yeah, I agree. Ramiro Johnson needs to step up a little bit more, but at the same time, he's playing for snaps right now, and right now they're going with Dowdell more than anybody else, it seems like. And so, if he wants the snaps and he wants to step up, he's got to make it happen. I kind of have two, and they're both a little minor. I think at the end of the day, Nebraska, if they play as a competent team, that's overall their key goal. But if I had to give kind of two things, one would be I want to see all four running backs in this game. I want to see them rotating all four running backs, see who the best guy is, and see who you can trust in the big moments, right? I think Dowdell has been their guy. And I'm not saying he's not the guy, but this is a game where Purdue has a struggling run defense. You should be able to run on them. And if you keep all four of those guys, their legs fresh, they should be able to get in there and have big runs. And then I think the other piece of it, too, is Nebraska can't have those penalties on the defensive line that they had against Illinois. You've got to clean that up. To me, that was a bigger factor on why they lost than Dylan Raiola making some of the mistakes he made, was giving away free yards, giving away free points in those situations. So, I think that's going to be a big thing for them. Nick, I promised that I would have a must-watch reason for these games, and my must-watch reason for this Nebraska-Purdue game is, can Nebraska bounce back and take care of a struggling team? This is what teams do who are good and who are real about being good. It's that they come back, they don't let the loss get to them, and they take care of business against a struggling team. It's what Notre Dame did. It's what Alabama did after they struggled against USF. They obviously didn't lose that game. They blew them out in the end, but they took care of business against a team they were obviously more talented than, that they are obviously better than. And I think at the end of the day, Nebraska is a better team than Purdue, and they need to take care of business in this one. Do you have a must-watch reason for this one, Nick?
I think the must watch is just see Purdue get stomped.
You're speaking to your Indiana fans. I
Yeah,
like it. I
yeah.
like it. I like it. All right, let's get to some comments really fast, and then we'll do score predictions. Phillips giving his score prediction, says Nebraska rolls Purdue 45-14. That's what I'm talking about. That's what Nebraska needs to do. Sean says Illinois likes to run the 3-4 backs to keep fresh. Yep, yep. And that worked for him in that game. Totally worked for him. Sunshine Design, Big Red will roll. They better. They better. I think they will too. And then Sean Schrock, my guy, is here. Hey, Sean. Nice to see you. Appreciate you being here, man. All right. Score predictions, Nick. I'll go first on this one, and then I'll let you go first on the next one. My score prediction. That way, you don't look like the Indiana homer when you pick them to when you pick Purdue to lose. My score prediction in this one is, I think Nebraska is going to roll in this one 31-17. I'm not quite as confident in some of the points as Philip is, but I do think that at the end of the day, they're going to run the heck out of the ball, and they're going to have a number of big plays in this one. And I think when you're running the ball, it's just going to bleed the clock some more. So they're not going to have as much time to be able to get to 45. But if they get some defensive touchdowns or something like that, I could totally see that happening. But for now, I'm just going to predict 31-17 with the possibility of it being more than 31 as a pretty likely possibility. So, Nick, what's your score prediction?
I think it's going to be 31-10 Nebraska. I think Purdue's still going to have to struggle a lot. I don't think this is going to be their bounce back game. I mean, maybe next week, but I think Nebraska is going to bounce back. They're going to show their dominance, show why they deserve to stay ranked, and I think they're going to win by at least 21 points.
All right. Yeah, we're actually pretty close there. I like that. I like that. All right, Purdue. Prove us wrong, Purdue. Prove us wrong.